Welcome to the Superpower Playbook, the ultimate guide for empowering creatives in unsupportive environments to chase their dreams with confidence. I am your intangible host, Wellington, and I bring you lived experiences, insights, and actionable steps that you've been looking for to do your creativity stuff, hey, to increase your capacity, increase your capability, and do business. Yeah. Today I have another banger interview with Tammi, aka the Halfrican food blogger. She is an entrepreneur, author, mixologist, chef, um, human full of multiple talents and multiple dimensions. And in this interview, we dive deep into business and her journey. This will be extremely useful if you're someone who's wanting to start a business in Malawi or anywhere really, and kind of doesn't have the blueprints. Through this interview, we explore some of the trials and tribulations, the pitfalls, the successes, and how she basically navigated coming from wanting to be a pro athlete, going into finance, leaving that behind, and going all in to be a food entrepreneur. We also get lots of gems and we discuss brand deals. And if you are interested in getting insight on how to approach brands, including a bit of like a script that she used to approach her first brand deal, stick in. It's somewhere there in the middle, and it could be so useful for you if you want to reach the stage of approaching brands and you kind of don't know what to do. This interview is spread between multiple weeks because of technical difficulties and issues. So if you notice that things are a little different somewhere, they are at the halfway point, really mind your business. Okay, I'm sorry. It happens. It's nothing we could do. But regardless, I think it'll be full of value, full of impact, and I can't wait for you to listen. So sit back, relax. If you haven't yet, subscribe, post notifications, all of those things, so that you know the next time another banger interview like this happens and you don't miss out on any of it. All right, Wellington, run the thing. So I wanted to know, where did you begin? What is the origins of before we even got to the food, before, like your formative years? Where did we start? Where does the story begin?
So before I did food, I thought I was gonna be an athlete because that's what I did. I was a track and field athlete, but mostly field. I threw a shot put and a discus, and I thought that was gonna be my life. Uh, I totally thought I was gonna go to the Olympics. Didn't happen. So yeah, I thought I was gonna do sports for a very long time because I started doing it in 2014. And it was great. I really enjoyed it. You hear that, Papa?
I did. Are you safe?
So, yeah, I thought I was going to be an athlete for the longest time, and I built a lot of my dreams around being an athlete. But then I got really terribly injured, and I struggled to recover from a lot of my injuries. And so, when I could no longer do sports, I didn't like cooking actually. I didn't like it at all. My job was to make salads. That was it. Um, I didn't like it. And then one day my mom left. She went on like a little trip and it was me, my dad, and my brother at home. And they were like, all right, so like, make lunch for us. And I gave them undercooked chicken and they almost died. Yeah. Because salmonella is a thing. And I remember like my dad was like, oh no, don't feel bad. We're just gonna go order food. And then we went to go order food. Did he not proceed to tell everybody how I almost killed them? Like everybody he met, like, hey, you can cook. And like I was on a road to redemption. I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn how to cook. So my mom came back and she started teaching me how to cook and stuff like that. And I knew that I had made it in life when she let me cook for the guests. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm the ultimate African child now. I've
Mm,
made it
mm.
because I learned off Buena and I'm the one cooking. This is it. This is life. And that's how I started cooking. My cooking was actually really bad then. It wasn't like really, really bad, but it was really bad because I still am really experimenting. And I remember I once made a cake, but I put too much salt in it because I didn't know how to read ingredients. And every time I would mess something up, I'd feel the urge to do it better. And I started food photography in 2018, and I only started posting my pictures in 2020. So yeah.
Yo, that's a tumultuous that's a journey, man. That's a journey. Okay. So you wanted to be an athlete and then injury struck. That must have been, how did you feel? Like this is the thing that you've been dreaming about. This is everything that you wanted, and then it's kind of like taken away from you. How did the ego feel?
It was so depressing because I was in the gym literally every day. That is like no exaggeration. Sometimes like 2 to 3 times a day. And so I went from competing on a yearly basis to not competing at all. Like I would do regionals and would travel and stuff like that. And now I just couldn't do that anymore. And it was so depressing because for a while I felt like I didn't have purpose. I just felt like I don't know what to do next because literally I had planned I'm gonna go to like school. I wanted to go to HFPA and learn how to do the things and compete even better. And now I just didn't have a plan. It's actually really funny. I wanted to do that, and then there was this video that kept on popping up on my feed, and I totally believe it's God because it was this thing about going to culinary school, and it popped up for like 3 months straight, and I was like, I don't want to look at this. I'm tired. And then I did look at it the first time, and I was like, that's some stupidness because they said culinary math, and I said, no, math is not my friend. I'm not doing this with you guys. So I decided not. And then a couple of months later, it popped up again, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna look at it one more time. It can't be that bad. And I actually really liked the idea. And that's when I started getting more into cooking. I remember I would take pictures. I was such a weird. I would take pictures and I'd like show my family members as if they didn't just eat the food I made. You know, come on, look what I made. And I think it was my brother who was like, you know, you should just post. So before I was a Halfrican Foodie, I had like a bunch of different handles because I was in denial. I was like, no, I'm not a food blogger. I'm almost a food blogger. I'm not really. And yeah, I didn't want to put myself out there because I followed a lot of food accounts and their pictures were like amazing. And I was like, oh, it's not. So after my whole athletic thing happened, I was depressed. But when I started doing food, it made me feel better, a lot better.
Yeah. And how much time was there between the end of one life to the beginning of the other, or at least the journey of the
Um,
other?
I feel like it wasn't a lot of time because in 2018 is when I stopped competing, and that's when I had started taking pictures of food. My mom did that thing that every African mom does, or any mom in general. You know, when you make something for your mom and she's feeling so proud, she takes a picture of it, no matter how bad it looks.
Mm.
Those moments would make me so happy because I was like, I am it. Like, look at her taking pictures of my crooked burnt pancakes. So it wasn't a lot of time because I remember specifically it was like Mother's Day, and I made her these weird looking pancakes. They were like burnt, and she was just still like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." We just took a picture of them, and I was like, "Yeah, I did it." And
Yeah.
so after that, I was like, you know what? I saw the picture and I was like, wow. And now when I look back at the picture, I'm like, oh. But that time, I was like, hold
Mm.
on. Y'all see me? And so it wasn't really a lot of time because it was one of those things where I was cooking for people on special occasions like birthdays and stuff like that. So yeah, it wasn't a lot of time. It was like a couple of months at most.
I
Yeah.
Please tell me you still have that picture.
I do. I really
Please, I
do.
need
It's
it.
so
I
bad.
want to see it with all my heart. I need
Because
it.
she did that thing, and I think it
Uh,
was Salia Mother's Day. She put it in
yeah.
the background. She
Oh,
put the plate there. It was
yeah,
just
yeah,
there
yeah.
cooking pancakes, and I'm
Oh.
just like, it's me. It's me.
uh, it's funny, but also like it kind of shows you how much encouragement can change things for
Yeah.
people, And one of the major reasons why this thing exists is because I feel like there's people out there who don't get that from home or from the people around them. So
Mm-hmm.
to hear that, I'm bleeding with jealousy. That's so amazing. I wish that were me.
Oh, please, you don't. I
No.
think
Mm.
no, because it was okay when I was cooking for the family. You know, it was one of those things, oh, Tammy, wow. Until the day I said, I think I want to do this for a living. This is me who goes to like an accounting school. I'm doing like my little thing in business management, and I'm like, sing the phone now. And it's after people have paid fees, and I'm just here like, the PK. And now it's like you're telling me you want to no longer cook for the family. And at the time, I didn't even have a business. This is me just like, I want to post pictures of my food. And now everyone's looking at me like,
Yeah.
yeah, but what about a real job? And I was like, yeah, it's gonna be it.
uh,
Uh, that changed a lot.
did it? That's so interesting. Let me just absorb all of that because it sounds so real. It sounds very much like a lot of things that I've heard in my time. It's me too. Like obviously, yeah, they sent me to school and yeah, he's fine. He's fine. They said, and then I come back, I got cornrows, I got these fantastical ideas of doing YouTube here. They're like, what? Hey,
What are you
relax,
doing?
hey. We sent you there for other things, not all of this that's going on.
They
So
literally look at you like, what are you doing with our life? What are you doing with
with
our
our
life?
life.
Stop it. Stop it right now.
Listen, we made you, okay? We've sent you there to do this thing that we have decided together, kind of.
You're out
I
here trying to be
decided.
different. Stop it.
Don't this ain't the plan. Check, see this. You signed this
Stop.
by being brought into this world. Um, so how how did you get over that hump? Because obviously I know you from outside. I don't know if people know I know this guy. And I think you were working somewhere. I'd see you in your little business suits every now and then. I'd pass out. There was a time I passed you by in town, hey, and I was like, isn't that, I know that guy. I know that guy. So it seemed like you were on the road to, corporate
Yeah.
life.
It's so funny. So I was still in school and I had gotten an internship at a bank and I was excited about the internship because I wasn't making much. I had started my business at this point, but I wasn't really making much money from it because not a lot of people knew what I was doing. And honestly, my skills were good, but then they could have been better. And so like I got this little internship and I enjoyed it, but I also didn't. Um, because I would fall asleep at work. Like I would get there at 8:30 in the morning and I'd just be I'm tired. Y'all are out here giving me these papers talking about open accounts. I don't want. I don't want. Just here handing me the phone call with customers. These niggas is pissing me off. I'm not interested. And so I enjoyed my internship, but then at the same time, I was kind of like, I don't think this is it for me because I'm one of those people who I never want to complain about my life. I never want to be the person who gets home from a long day and is like, I hate my life. I hate my job existed. Because it's just not the way to live. You shouldn't spend your whole life hating what you do, hating the person that you are. I don't think that that's how you should be. Um, Again, with all my spirituality, the Bible says, I'm about to quote the Bible, but I'm not about to quote it directly because I don't know where it is in the Bible, but it's there.
Okay.
God has given everyone a talent and a specific thing that they're able to do. And you should use that because why would he give you something that he knows will not benefit you? And so, I was doing that whole thing and it seemed like a really great opportunity. And it definitely was. I learned a lot and it was a beautiful time, but I knew that it wasn't something that I wanted to do. And breaking that to African parents is not easy. Like here you are talking about, I have a dream of a restaurant. And they're just looking at you like, you ain't even finished the school. Talking about the dream. Um, I think though in saying that my parents weren't dismissive and I do appreciate that. They weren't like, stop what you're doing, do this. They were kind of like, how about finish this, finish this, and then you can do that if you want, like you haven't changed your mind. And this everyone thought I was gonna change my mind along the way. Everyone thought I was gonna wake up one day and be like, I'm over it. But it never happened. And so I remember my dad pushing me so much to be like, finish business school. When you finish business school, finish this first. And I didn't want to at the time. And I was like, I just want to cook. I was so dramatic. I just want to cook, Dad. I just want to go into the kitchen. And at the time, I used to use like bread making to relieve stress. And so I was just there kneading dough in the kitchen, like, this is my destiny. And I did eventually finish business school. And when I was done, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm tired. So they were never dismissive, very supportive, but I think they always wanted me to have like a little safety net, something like to fall back on. So it never bothered me much because I was like a very confident person. I was like, I'm gonna do this, regardless of whatever these people say, whatever they think. I'm gonna get this done, and I'm gonna be the person who did it. And I am.
There was That's interesting to hear because I think a lot of parents, obviously, they want you to live. Let me say most parents want you to
Mm-hmm.
have like a separate life, your own dreams and aspirations, but hear
Mm-hmm.
these fantastical ideas of I want to not do school and to go out there. It must be pretty hard to hear for them, So I think we have to
Yeah.
applaud them for at least letting you still go, even though there was like,
Mm-hmm.
is this guy okay? Is this guy are you sure? So
Yeah.
what was it? Because there's a lot of people. Actually, let's rewind it. What was it that um helped you figure out that the corporate life, the business life, the desk job was not for you? Like specifically, how did you know, was it just the sleeping?
Um,
Was it like
no, but you know what? That sleeping was a big deal for me because I'm not a morning person. I can stay awake until 5 a.m., sleep at 6 a.m., and wake up at like 9 a.m. But if you ask me to wake up at 6 in the morning, I'm not gonna wake up happy.
mm,
I'm not gonna speak until like I eat something. I'm gonna be kind of grumpy. I'm not really a morning person like that. So it was that. And I just I didn't like how monotonous it was. It seemed to lack creativity. And in as much as everybody was doing their job and getting by, I just felt like it's not nice because I just didn't like it. And I think that there are people who are built to be corporate people, and they're just so good at it. Like they are just there slaying corporate giants, doing that whole corporate ladder thing, and they're just there like, wow, look at you living life. That's not me. That is not me. The thought of waking up in the morning and dressing up all decent and stuff just to come home and wear pajamas at the end of the day when I can just wear pajamas the whole day, it's just like it's nothing now. No. So I just didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoy cooking. And I think no matter how much time I spent doing what I do currently, I never really felt I would get tired. And I definitely have days where I'm like, I don't really want to do this. But I never really felt like this is something I can't do. It always felt too easy. Like it was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the kitchen, cook. And next thing you know, it's 4 a.m. and I'm just like, I might as well shower for the day. And then it's 6 a.m. and I'm like, I'm gonna take a nap, I'm gonna wake up, and the day's gonna start again. So it's never been an issue for me. But if you put me in an office, being an office person is hard. We really need to applaud those people because finding an outfit every single day that meets the standard of office people is hard. It's really difficult. It's really, really difficult. Then you have to deal with like all sorts of clients and, respond to emails and, be that person. And you're just there waiting for 5 o'clock. It's like, God, please, please. And then you go home and then you have to cook. And those guys are brave. Like like the Lord is upon them.
Honestly, I feel like the corporate life is a discipline unto itself. There's like the job that you do, and then there's corporate. So I think in the past I have a bit of there's a bit of a rebelness in me. So for a while I used to be very much like corporate. You do corporate. But I've kind of grown out of that to be like, yeah, I think you're right that like certain people are just built that way, and certain people are not really inclined in that direction, and that's just people are like that.
Yeah.
So cool. You figured out this isn't it. You saw that you spend time here, hours pass by, it feels super easy, it just comes natural to you, which is literally exactly what I said in I think episode 2 about like the superpower, which is like your talent, your passion, and action. So this I'm not crazy. It's not just me. So cool, you find this out. Where did you find now the audacity, to look them in the eye and say, this is the direction that I'm going? Because like so many people have, the same or very similar like hopes and dreams and all of that stuff, but never actually make the jump.
I feel like it was a really gradual thing because even for myself, it wasn't a thing that it was something that I knew, but then I was intimidated by it because I didn't know how I was gonna do it. And I'm a pretty competitive person. I'm like, I want to win. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's going on. I just want to win. Okay? Small thing, competition. I want to win. So I was afraid because I was like, what if I lose? So it wasn't really like an announcement like, hey guys, okay, it wasn't an announcement until like very late. Where I was like, hey, so I think I'm gonna do this whole kind of thing. And I'm really supposed to support me. No, initially it was just kind of like, yeah, I'm a foodie. And I got tired of just not living up to the person I knew I could be because I when you like know what you can do with something and you're like, I can do really wonderful things with this particular thing, and I'm really holding myself back. I got really, really exhausted of doing that because at every small turn, when an opportunity would come, I would like back out of it because I didn't believe in myself at that time. And I got really fed up because I was like, okay, now you're just irritating yourself. So when I started doing business as a Halfrican Foodie, I didn't really okay. I started, I think a week after that whole shower thing happened, where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead. And my first package was so hectic, so I used to do packages at first, It was so hectic because no one believes when I tell the story, but it's a true story. I started baking a cake at 8 o'clock at night. Tell me why this cake did not bake until 5 a.m. When I say it didn't bake, I mean it was like wobbling in the center. It was just there in the eyes. And I'm like, I did everything. I turned the oven up to the oven was fine because I made chicken in that oven same day and it came out well. But this cake said, nah, I'm yeah. And I took the cake out of the pan. I was like, God, I prayed over my cake. I prayed over, I was like, Father God, please. I put it back in the oven. Cake said, no. I cooked that cake in a pan. I took a frying pan. I put the cake inside the frying pan and I cooked it on the stove. I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm not doing this. I have not slept in 24 hours and you don't want to bake. I'm not doing this with you. So I got my first package. I was so exhausted. I actually still have pictures of it. And I was so happy because I made like 5 boxes of it at the time. And now when I look back at it, I'm just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? This is so uncohesive. What were you doing? But I was really, really proud. And I remember when I made my first couple of sales, oh my gosh, my life was just yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, this is the person that I am. I am an entrepreneur. And I was an entrepreneur until my second package because the second package didn't do well. And I said, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I'm okay with cooking for the family again. And then I got tired and I was like, no, but I do want to do this. I'm going to go back. And then my third package was crap. And I failed a lot. Like an embarrassingly amount of a lot. Like when you just feel so much, you're just like, guys, sorry. Sorry. I know, I know, but like, I'm just really sorry. So it was really difficult because I went from like, oh, hey guys, I'm gonna be this business person to I can do this. And now I'm sure they didn't say it to my face, but they just looked at us like, Naziwa. I knew this.
I knew
this was going to happen.
I told her,
it.
stay in business, but she wants to make food. Wow. Cook for free, bro. We have a pan here.
It took me because at the time even I wasn't making a profit because I didn't know how to do my costing. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to give people food and get money. Not knowing that people have to buy. Wait, I just remembered. It was such a tragedy. So I had invested money and I was like, I'm gonna go buy groceries, I'm gonna do the thing. I invested money and the person that I invested with stole my money, ran away. He doesn't have money for anything.
Wow.
It was so sad.
Yo.
It was so sad. And like I'm a person I like pretty packaging. I'm a total believer in people perceiving things with their eyes, liking it with their eyes first, and then obviously eat. But when that happened, I didn't know I was going to get married because I didn't want to go to my parents because they were going to ask me very reasonable questions that I didn't want to answer. Questions like, so what was your profit last time you made the package? Why don't you use your profits to fund? I didn't want to answer those questions because I didn't make a profit. So don't ask me what my profit was because I didn't make one.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
Okay? I don't know where the money is. I don't know. Okay? I was just out here. I was excited. So I didn't want to ask my parents and I was just there in a slum. And one day, after a couple of months, I woke up again and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna give it another go. And it was still crap. It was still crap until I had a friend of mine. Her family had a restaurant, and the restaurant is called Favors. It's in Banta. She took me to her restaurant, and she was like, you should just watch the flow of how things go. And then later on, she drove me to the market and she taught me how to do costing. It felt so good. I left her car feeling so empowered. I was like, but then costing is hard. It's hard. It's very difficult. It's time consuming. I see why people get other people to do it for them. I get it because it's hard. And I didn't want to do it. "Oh, I didn't want to do it." And now my dad was at that point where he was like, if you want to make a package, I want to see the costing for it. I want to know how you're pricing your things, and then I'll give you a go ahead. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I just want to make food. Why don't you understand? Why don't you get it? Like, it's not about the money, Dad. It's not. It's about the money. It is. It is. And so it was very hectic. Now, so we understand that this is who I am. I've been doing it for a little hot minute. And, I've developed and whatnot. I kind of know what I'm doing for the most part. And so we're more comfortable with being like, okay. Because now they know that I make a profit. And they're just like, okay, she's fine. She's fine. She's fine. She's okay. She's living a life. She's breathing oxygen.
I am lost in my thoughts because there's a million questions I didn't ask. So this is what you do, like full time. I know they ask you this all the time. This is your job.
Yep.
This is where
this
you
is
eat.
like my life.
Yeah.
This is literally everything that I do. Like I don't have a job in an office, y'all. This is my life. And yeah, this is kind of what I do. This is what I do.
So you talked about packages. I don't know. I know there's a broad amount of stuff that you do, but like explain to me packages, what that means. And then also how do you monetize all of this? So I think the two can kind of cross into each other.
Okay, so let's start with how I monetize. With our country, a lot of people think that when you do food, you have to be doing catering or you have to be a private chef. And that's a false. I don't believe that at all. Because for me, I remember I wanted to do catering, and when I looked at all the stuff that you need to do catering, I was like, those for married people who have husbands. Or people, not just married people, but people who have saved enough to do it, because you need, those matrays where they just put this in bunga. And yeah, you need one of those, several of those, and like multiple Bunsen burners and all sorts. And I was like, whatever, those things. I was like, this is gonna take me a minute. And then, did I do something bad? Okay, my phone made a weird noise.
Oh,
sorry.
no, we're good.
So there was that, and I was like, no, this is not gonna work, because it was gonna take me a while to get all those things. And when I thought of it, the thought of me kugula ziporozi pigira mpunga, I was like, it'll burn, because you can't put that on a regular stove top. That is a big pot, and you need multiple bags of rice. Ain't nobody doing that, at least not me. And I wanted to find different ways of doing food that people haven't really explored. So I know that the first thing I did was I started doing food photography. And that was a lot. It was a lot more than I was expecting it to be, because I thought, you just take pictures of food, post, and you're like, hey guys, hashtag food day. No, it's a lot. A lot goes into it, because you need to consider things like lighting, backdrops, and it has to look aesthetically pleasing. It can't just be a plate. I mean, it can, but it has to look really, really good. Quality stuff or doing it yourself. And that's a large part of what I did initially. So I started with food photography, and then I started getting hired to do other people's food photography. And I remember I would like show up at spots and they'd be like, okay, so where's your equipment? And I'd be like, no, I do it with my phone. And they'd be like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I do it with my phone.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's going to be fine. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hurt your food. I'm just going to take pictures. It's going to be fine. Because for the longest time, myself, I believed, Kudi, if you're going to be a content creator, you had to have all this equipment and, be the person with the everythings. And it was going to take me a while to do it if I decided to do it that way. So I decided to start learning how to take videos with my phone and things like that. And that's initially how I made a lot of my money. I did food photography. Then I started making my packages. So the packages worked at the time, but then I had to change how I did them. because I didn't like the system I was using at that time. So what would happen at the time was every month I'd have a particular package. So I'd have a sweets package or a savory package, and then I'd have like a little sale. And the reason that wasn't working was if I don't make money from food photography the whole month, that means that I can't fund getting stuff to make a package. I don't know if that makes sense. And if I can't fund the package, then I'm making losses already. With my
So the
packages, it wasn't
packages
working.
depended on the photography. So if the photography isn't popping, the packages ain't popping and just stuck
Yep.
in both directions. Okay.
So that wasn't working for me. And that's when I was like, okay, I still do packages. So what I do now is I do a flash sale every month or so, every month or every 3 months, depending on my workload. So I always have, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of myself. I'm sorry, I just had a moment where I realized what I do and I'm like, oh wow. Um, I have a cookie brand. It's called Halfrican Gold, and I do cookie sales every other week. But then once a month, I do like specialty cookies or whatever else I'm doing, and then I do one for savory stuff because not everybody likes sweets. And now it's no longer dependent on just food photography because I also got into recipe development, recipe testing. I became an author and I started co-writing recipes and working on food magazines, collaborations, so on and so forth. So I decided I was going to broaden how I did things because if I confined it and told myself food in Malawi is just catering, I wasn't going to because not everybody needs catering on a regular business, on a regular situationship. Thank you. That's the English word. Um, it's not every day when someone's like, "Hey, can you cater for me?" No, it happens like once in a while, and that wasn't going to work for me because I wanted to do this every day. So I started monetizing that way, and then I realized you can make money on social media. And that's when I started taking it up like super duper seriously and trying to grow my following and things like that because I was like, if Instagram is going to pay me to post, why would I like waste my time not doing that? Yes.
Yeah, if Instagram is paying you, why not? That was kind of that is a question that I have is like there are not even not even a question necessarily because you kind of answered it, but like, do you think you'd be operating or doing the stuff that you're doing without the internet to enable you the way it has?
I think I would.
Hmm.
It would just be different because, now it's if I want to look for inspiration from like other people's food, I don't have to go and buy a food magazine. I just have to like go on Instagram, look up what I want to look up, and like I can be like, oh wow, this looks like a pretty idea. But it would be different. It would be the same, but the means of delivery would be different. Yeah.
I see, but so it sounds like it's made things a bit easier for you. Like like you said, not buying a magazine, you have this plethora of inspiration, and you can reach out to people to
Mm-hmm.
collab and all of that stuff. Which, by the way, I'm glad that you had that moment of realization that you're a boss because you actually do really cool stuff. Hey, I was
Thank you.
looking, I have to do a bit of stalking before I come here, and I'm like, wow, she's doing stuff. This is crazy. I'm seeing multiple pages. I'm seeing this, and I'm gonna ask about the magazine, which apparently you have coming out soon. I don't know when
Mm-hmm.
that is, but I'll save that for later. That's for later down the line. So yeah, you're doing amazing. I'm sure they've
Thank
told you this
you.
already, but let me also tell you that you're killing
Thank
it.
you.
Um, how this okay? There's so much to touch on. I can't even pick because I am I gonna let the rabbit out of the hat now or later? No, I'll ask it now because my body can't take it. So
Okay.
when I was also in a very similar boat kind of every now and then I still kind of go in there. Obviously not because I'm doing this, but I was also in this boat of like, should I not? Because obviously, I'm in school right now. They have paid, they've sunk several monies into this thing. And I don't want anything to do with it. I want to go out there and do my entertaining and this and that. So
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult. But one of the things that like that lit a fire in me or helped light a fire in me was actually you.
Oh my
When
gosh, really?
literally when I saw that you came out with your book, I was like, it's possible. It's
Hmm.
doable. And I'm looking, and I'm like, wow, your stories, it exists. It's on company, she's making sales. It's not just a dream, like it's real, like it's tangible. It can happen here in this country. And I was like, okay,
Yes.
you know what? Let's go. So I think it's only fitting that you're the first to come in here for, because in a way, this
Thank
is your
you.
fault. This is because of you, in a way. So mom, dad, this one here, if you wanted to
It's all
know.
my fault. I'm
It's all on your
sorry.
shoulders. Yeah. So thank you for that. What skills does it take? Because okay, we talked about photography. We know photography. You know that makes sense. But how about the food, the recipe creation? Like, what kind of skills? Where do you have to be in life to be able to do that? Because it sounds to be like a lot of trial and error and maybe about a bit of research. So how does that work?
I think that if you want to get into recipe development, you need to be in a place in life where you're comfortable with failure and losing a lot. You can't go into it like I went into it thinking like I've got this, I've got that. Well, no, sit yourself down and be okay with the fact that it's not gonna work all the time. You don't need to be a professional. You don't need to be like a trained culinary excellent student or anything like that. You just because the reason I say so is, and no offense to anybody in the culinary community, I know that those guys are absolutely amazing. There are people who are culinary students and cannot produce good work. Just like there are people who are not culinary students who produce stuff that you look at and you're like, are you sure you didn't go to school? And it's not a matter of where you've been or who you are. It's just a matter of sitting down and praying that the creative juices flow because that's really all that it is. You need to be, first of all, willing to learn and accept the fact that you don't know everything, and that's okay, that you are still going to have to learn things. And then you need to, it's so hard. You need to kind of sit down and you have to tell yourself, oh wow, okay, so I looked at this recipe, but you're basically looking at a recipe just so that you can be like, I'm not gonna use it.
Okay.
And it's really frustrating because, sometimes I've had moments like I think I posted on my stories where I wanted to make this pink velvet cookie and I looked at a recipe for a regular cookie and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna manipulate it a little bit. It was bad. It was so bad. The cookie was actually falling apart in real life.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah.
And the thing is, you can't let things like that like discourage you. You just kind of have to be like, okay, I guess we're gonna try again in a month or so. So you need to be in a state where you're just very fine with failure. Like I made a cake for someone once and it fell apart. No, I don't know. I mean chunks of cake, zimagua. And I sat down with that cake and I ate it. I ate it. I sat on the floor. I prayed over it. I said, thank you, God, for this food. And I ate.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that. Okay, I mean, I cried
Oh,
because it took
yes.
me 3 days to make.
Yeah.
But then after that, I was like, I'm finished.
Mm.
And I ate it. And
Mm.
that's where you kind of have to be in life, where even when things fall apart, you know that it's not the end of the world. You don't necessarily need to be, because recipe development doesn't mean that, you are creating like weird concoctions all the time. Sometimes it's just elevating a basic thing. So really, that's all you need in life to recipe development. A willingness to fail.
Mm,
and the willingness to learn.
mm. That's honestly so vital. And I think in your field of work, that is like top, most important thing because I can imagine the amount of investment that you have to put in every time you do all of this development. You have to, I assume you have to get to the end of the process to see, okay, has it worked?
Yeah.
Oh, time and resources down the window, failed. But I'm sure there's something that you pick up from that, maybe. Um, mm,
Yeah.
mm. No, you're strong, man. You're strong.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, because a lot of people get even the smallest setback is like, you know what? That's it for me. I did my part. So that's the
Oh,
end.
it's harsh. It's really harsh. I remember sometime one of my brother's friends walked in on me in the kitchen and he looked at what I had made and he was like, this is a fail, isn't it? My heart broke
Oh
so hurt.
no.
I was
Yeah,
like, I know you did that, but it was a fail.
it was.
And like
Yes.
there's been so many times when I'm just like, I'm really over this. I get really exhausted because, again, because it's a business, I have to use money. And that means that, like when you tell your parents and your friends, like, hey guys, trying out a new recipe, it's gonna be bomb. And everyone is like, oh, yeah, bueno. And then it
Mm,
fails. And they're like,
mm.
hey, where's that food? And you're like, huh?
That was me.
It's
Uh,
not Anita. And then now you
mm,
have to rebuy the same ingredients. And I
mm.
have a mom and she's always looking at me like, Mubanga, so
No, I can't, man. I can't. But it's so powerful because that's how you learn, you know. You have to jump in, get burnt, and then pick up the pieces and figure out how to go about it. It may look like she's changed again, but it's exactly the same as last time.
yep.
This is the same day. Everything's happening at the same. So where were we a few seconds ago? Cool. You wrote a book. You wrote a
I
cookbook
did.
that I'm
Mm-hmm.
absolutely jealous of. Not that I know how to cook, but I think it's such an admirable thing. Like I mentioned, the fact that you put together this thing, put it out, and started making money from it was a huge inspiration
Mm-hmm.
for me. But I'm curious what that process was like, the decision making, then the actual on the ground crafting and putting it together and then putting it out. What was that like?
It took a long time because my cookbook isn't really long. It's a mini cookbook, but I had to take really good pictures. And there were times where I'd have a really good recipe and the pictures would be so bad and I couldn't use them. And it was really, really frustrating because it meant either redoing it or just accepting the fact that I'm not going to use it. So I spent a really long time taking photos and then editing. And I'm again one of those people who I just pour in the kitchen. So now I had to pay attention to what I was actually doing and be like, 1 teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon. And it was really frustrating. At first, it was really frustrating. Um, it was a lot. I think I'd always known that I wanted a cookbook, but then I was afraid initially because I was like, in a cookbook, then Zidane. And then at that point, I was kind of just like, you know what, I'm gonna have a cookbook and it's gonna work out. But then the trouble was also you don't want to make the same recipes that everybody else is putting out. Because we have YouTube. You want to give people stuff that they haven't seen before. So that process also took a lot of time. The pictures and the actual coming up with the recipes took quite a bit of time because sometimes I think like 4 of the recipes were not necessarily recipes that I thought were going to be in the book, but I loved them so much. I was like, oh my gosh, look at it, it's gorgeous. And I was like, but and then I had the pictures, I had the recipes, and then one day I was sitting in my bed, actually no, on a couch in my room, and I was like, I was watching the originals, with the vampires. Yeah, I was watching the I was watching the originals and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start typing my book. So I did on my phone with the originals in the background. And then I finished 8 or 9 hours later.
and then I had to get it proofread and stuff like that. And then I had a book. And then I decided, oh my gosh, I want to be really, really fancy. And like add 2 more recipes for special people who
Mhm.
pre-order my book. And I did.
Ooh. Okay.
And yeah, that's where I was.
So when you say you sat down for 9 hours, was it that the recipes had already been constructed and written and you were just procrastinating and you're like, okay, I guess today's the day, or
No.
uh-huh.
So I think it was a really bad habit. At the time, I would do this thing where I'd be like, I'll make something, I'll remember at that time this is what I'm doing, and then be like, I'll write it down later. And then like 3 or 4 weeks down the line, I'm like, I don't remember what I did. So in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, I had like a book. I have like this gigantic book of recipes, like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And I had the headings, but then I didn't have the recipes. And that was really irritating because I was like, how are you going to do this to ourselves? What's wrong with us? So I had to go through the process of trying to remember each one, typing it down, writing it down first, and then typing it where I needed to do that, and then
Yeah.
moving as I did that. Yeah,
And you really made life hard for yourself there. You
I
really,
try.
yeah. But hard mode
I
is fun.
try.
So if you were to do, because I'm sure there's going to be more books,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do different if you could redo it?
Initially, I used to pressure myself so much because in my mind, you had to do certain things to, for me, be a foodie, like fit in with my chef friends and the foodie community. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. And that's why sometimes I would have really great recipes, but then I would execute it in a really terrible way and then I wouldn't like the outcome. So I would really take the pressure off and
Mm-hmm.
just be chilled. And I would put in the proper time for it. Because at that time, I was doing school, I was trying to be a person, balancing orders, and all of that. So I would like, if I'm deciding that I'm working on the book, for example, this week, I would spend my time this week working on that solely, as much as I can at least. And well, yeah, I would write down the recipes. I would have them on hand. In a laptop, in the book, in the phone. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really use laptops much, so I would have them. And yeah, I would just be more chilled about it and less stressed. Yeah. So I was really afraid at first because I was like, what if people don't buy my book? And there's always those people who look at something and be like, because some of you're saying that what was stopping you? Like, I
Yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can do this, I can do. We can all do it. It's in the. So
Yes.
yeah, there was this weird fear of, oh my gosh, what are people gonna say? And in the end, it it mattered, but it didn't matter at the same time.
Okay.
So yeah, a bit less stressed about that because, oh well, it happens. Not everything works out all the time. Not everything doesn't work out all the time, and that's okay.
Yeah. How do you deal with, because I'm sure, I mean, if we're being honest, right? Like you said, recipes exist in the world. YouTube exists,
Yeah.
there's all of these things. So did you ever get someone coming to you specifically and saying, why should I buy your book? I could figure this out by myself.
Um, they were not really like that,
Okay.
but then there were times where people would look at something I made and be like, "Yeah, how can you do that?" And I'm like, "What are you doing, babe? So sit down, sit down." I was talking to me. Nobody asked you for opinion. Just get out. And
Yeah.
I think at first it used to bother me so much because I'd be like, "Why are you in my space? Where is your mom? Like, go sit down with your mom. Like, don't be here." And now I think I don't have an explanation for why certain people do that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
but I'm also okay with it. And I think that from some of my friends, I just learned to just be like, to not let it bother me so much, because everybody, not everybody's gonna be happy for you when you do wonderful things. And some people don't know how to express that. Instead of being like, hey, I wanted to do what you're doing, could you help me? It comes out in a negative way of, I've been wanting to do that and I can do that. And it's like, yeah, but you did. So it's, you just have to be okay with it and kind of let them be, because we ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Really don't, hey.
I think it does come from a place of insecurity, right? Because like I'll speak for myself. There are a few individuals that I know that I aspire. There's something about them that I want to have, right? So there is like, how do I phrase this? Almost like a competitive, I call it hate. Like if I'm talking to someone about this person, oh, I hate them so much. But I always clarify, it's not an actual hate. It's not a real hate. It's hate like I want to get there. Like he's my competition, she's my competition. I want to get to that level type of thing. But it's easy to cross over into being a hater. And then coming at people like that and saying, oh yeah, no, I can do that too. I mean, no big deal. But you haven't, you didn't do it, and it's much better if you see people that you admire and go to them if they're accessible like that. But even going anyway, just be like, hey, like you said, I want to do this. Tell me how you did it. I want to be like you. I want to live like you. Hey, hi. Yeah, it's me. It's your boy. It's Wellington. We're at the halfway point. We're not done. There's still so much. Do you remember that script that I mentioned earlier? The script that Tammi used to get her first brand deal? I mentioned, I don't remember. I mentioned how she laid that out for us. What I want to do for you is I want to take that script, break it down and turn it into a template, adapt it for you, and give you the opportunity to use that the next time that you want to go and try approach a brand. I'm going to template it out so that you're able to just plug and play, add your specific name, business, statistics, and give you options to customize it to make it suit you rather than just doing a copy paste and being exactly like the next person. I'm going to highlight what's in there, why it's important to have those things specifically, so that you understand and you're not just taking and using without any knowledge of why it's there in the first place. All of this can be found in the description. I'm going to add a link at the bottom. You can click that and you'll be able to download that straight and use that in your business. On top of that, we just add in more. I do a lot of reading. I read a lot of books. I sit down with these guys, these marvelous interviewees, and I distill a lot of this information. I write it down. I'm a big nerd. I write a lot of this stuff down. If you purchase this, well, it's not purchase because it's free. If you download the template, you also sign up for a weekly newsletter that gives you updates on episodes, right? When new episodes drop, so that you don't miss. Sometimes with podcasting, like Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that, sometimes you miss it, sometimes you don't see it. So this will pop up every week, and you get to be the first to know when a new episode drops. On top of that, all the major insights that I've gotten from my guest, my books, my experience that can help you with your business, with your capabilities and capacity as a creative, I'm going to add to that newsletter as well. So not only are you getting updates on new episodes, you're getting information, knowledge, and stuff that I think personally is a game changer that not many people are talking about, that I can just throw in as a small snippet. So you get that template and you get that newsletter full of oodles, strudels, and canoodles of value for you. So if that interests you in any way, fire up that link ting. I'm trying out a new thing. Do you like it? Tell me. Fire up that link in the description below and you get all of this stuff for free in your inbox. Hey, all right. Tammi was no, or is it Wellington? One of us was talking. Go. Because most people will be happy to help.
I think that I used to be really afraid that people shoot,
Mm-hmm.
English ran away. I used to think that like people with like thousands of followers were not people. Like I was like, oh my gosh, you're like on a new level. And at that time, I'll never forget, I had 257 followers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, look at them. They're so amazing. And I remember the first time I was featured on a page, my soul leapt. You know, the joy of the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
nothing like it. I was so happy. And then I remember the first time somebody asked me how I did something, I was like, I made it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is
Mm-hmm.
it. And it was when I had 302 followers, mind you. So I had full stop.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, people are just not going to respond to me or not going to be willing to help me. But honestly, I was never the type to be mad. I was just the type to be like, when I get to 1,000 followers, then I can do this. Or when I
Mm-hmm.
get to such and such a stage. But then I was limiting myself so much. And I realized the more I reached out to people, the better it was for me. Because you never know unless you actually try. And with me, I might not respond to all the messages, but I really try because I want to be the support that I wish I would have had I been the type of person to reach out. It wasn't necessarily anybody's fault. It was just me being like really, really shy and weird and thinking I'm not yet where I need to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's much easier to just ask. And I like people. Okay. I always find something to compliment anybody about. Like I'm just that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that sometimes it's easier to find the good in people than to always be looking for what they should have done better, because that's kind of ugly. Very.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And you know what's interesting? You're talking about having 300 followers. As of recording, I just checked, you have 8,068, right? To my and compared to mine, which is like 900 on my main account. And like I don't want to say how many I have. Actually, no, be confident because everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
I have probably 50 something on this on the show's thingy. And it is very daunting. Luckily, I know you, so my life was made a bit easier there. But there have been times where, actually very recently, I wanted to get more guests on, and I'd lined up a couple and I had them in the bag, but there was still more that I needed just to be sure that I'm covered for the coming months. So I sent out a bunch of a bunch of DMs to different people that I admired that I thought would be able to help, and I was telling my girlfriend that, hey, I reached out to this person. I doubt they'll answer, but like it would be so cool if. And straight away, first thing I saw, such and such had followed me. Huh?
Oh my gosh.
Pig squeeze
That
me?
is so cool.
Then the DM came.
Oh my
I had to
goodness.
celebrate for a
I'm
good two
so
minutes.
happy for you.
Dude, it was so, and she's on, I think, 9,000 followers, right? She has a company, she has all of these things. She's really cool, and I've been watching her for a long time. But I think if we went about things like, oh, because of this arbitrary number of people that are on this social account, then I can't talk to you, we'll never get anywhere, right? Communication and networking, it's huge.
I mean, for me, as long as you're not being a creep, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's really just like I don't mind people asking me questions. There are certain things that I can't answer because I'm like, okay, I can't give you this because I'm working on this, and I'm happy to explain that. But like, don't be a creep. Don't be a creep, and don't be that person who's all like, those people who just come to tell you what's wrong with your life. I can't. And so like at first, I used to be like really, really nice and patient and no, love, no. I got to a point where I started understanding that the value, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I feel like I'm about to sound really wise. the value doesn't necessarily come from the number of followers that you have, but the number of people that actually appreciate what you do. And when I started to understand that, I realized that the numbers are really, really great to have, but I'm not going to have 30 creepy people just being weird in my DMs and keeping them there for the sake of saying I have such and such amount of followers.
Yeah. You had a deal, you had a brand deal recently with some chocolatiers. Tell me about that. How did you make that happen? Because I can imagine there are creators that are doing stuff and want to approach these brands and would want like a blueprint of how that can be done.
Okay. This is about to be like some really great stuff. I'm just gonna tell you now.
Okay.
So I started doing research and I decided that I wanted to do more collaborations, because the more collaborations you do, it's like networking basically for content creators. And for me at that point, I was doing a lot of recipe development and a lot of creating content. So I started doing research on how to present myself as a content creator, because in our country, we don't really have a lot of brand deals like that unless you're like a really famous musician or something like that. And you have to have already made it in life.
Yes.
Not like upcoming, no, none of that. So I put together a social media kit, and that gives you information on who I am, what my business is about. It's really short. I think mine is about 3 pages. So I had a social media kit and it had my statistics for about a month so that they know my interaction, what it's looking like, my audience and their percentages. And it doesn't have to be like really weird, like, but it does have to include, mine included, I think, the percentage of women that watched, male, age group, and the countries that they were in. And then obviously you have to, then you list down the services that you provide. So mine was recipe testing, recipe development, content creation, food photography, and some other stuff that I added on. So there was that. I had my whole little social media kit. It's so beautiful. I'll send you a picture of it. It's so
Please
gorgeous.
do. Yeah.
It's really beautiful. It's just there, existing like. And
Waiting to be
then
seen.
I drafted an email that would basically lead you to my social media kit. The email wasn't too long, but it was one of those things that prompted you to want to know what is in this small kit. And then I made a list of all the companies and organizations that I wanted to work with. And there was a lot. And you'd be surprised by the number of people that turned me down. So I would set a goal of like every week I would contact 3. And then after 2 weeks, if I haven't heard back from them, I would follow up. And then after that, if I hear nothing, I'm pretty chilled. So I did that. And then I contacted Kwanzaa Cocoa, and they're like super, super cool. Like, it wasn't even like weirdly difficult or anything like that. We set up a meeting. They told me the flavors that they had at that time. Their range is seriously growing. It's really amazing. And we agreed on what we wanted to do. For them, they wanted me to develop recipes for them, so that it's not like you look at it, because the flavors are really unique. You have things like gambuzi rock salt, baobab, coconut, and things like that. So it's normally you look at it and be like, is yeah. But they wanted people to know that actually, no, you can do something more, that you can bake with it, you can do whatever it is you need to do. And that is where I came in. I was the person who made them a little range of stuff that you could bake. So I worked with them for a really, really long time. And then, yeah, that's how that happened.
Yeah. Can you, because now I'm like, okay, what was in this email? The media kit I've heard of, and I'm thinking about doing it. So before we get there, firstly, how many followers were you at when you felt comfortable enough to go and approach them?
That time I didn't actually have a lot of followers.
Okay.
I think I had a lot, to be fair, but not as many as I do now. I think I had probably like 5 or no, it was 4,057.
Okay.
Let me find the email because I still have it. It says, "Dear so what?" You know how things start. My name is Tammy, but I'm better known as the Halfrican Foodie. I am currently a Malawian-based entrepreneur running a business under the name the Halfrican Foodie and Halfrican Gold. I enjoy exploring food and sharing my findings with my audience. As such, I am a food blogger and influencer on Instagram. I'm the author of my own cookbook, owner and founder of Tastemakers Africa, as well as a food content creator, reviewer, researcher, photographer, and collaborator. I am a certified pastry chef as well as a commercial cookery and hospitality culinary student at the Institute of Culinary Excellence in Australia. Being that I am a foodie, I spend a lot of time in the kitchen as well as trying to find um, food that is available on the market. As such, I'm quite familiar with your product. Given the opportunity, I think we could collaborate on a project together. Below, you will find attached my social media kit. This will give you the analytics of my interactions with my online audience, as well as the impact of my influence. By collaborating on a project with me, you will have full access to my audience, myself as an influencer, and much more, which would therefore give you new content for your market. People like to see other real people using everyday foods practically, but also in new ways, and that is what I offer. I have listed some of the ways that we can work together in my social media kit. If this is of any interest to you, I'd hope to hear back from you as soon as possible so that we can begin to discuss the terms of our collaboration in a proper meeting. Kind regard to African Foodie. It's a
I'm
really long email.
It's so detailed too, but I see what you're saying, like the enticingness of it that leads you also
Yeah.
like, hey, I do all this cool stuff, certified, you know what I'm saying, author, blogger, CEO, founder, huh? And then pulling it all in. How did you how this is Google, this is YouTube, right? This is jungle tactics basically, because this isn't something that you're taught necessarily.
No, and I think I like being very prim and proper. The only other way I can describe it is I'm solo. I like things to be in order.
Yeah.
So I don't want things to feel like it's done in halves. I don't want to send something and be like, oh no, I should have said this. So it took me about 2 or 3 days to make that email. I remember I still have the paper because I'm that way. I drafted it on a paper. I was sitting on the floor. I drafted it on a paper. I had 3 sheets of paper, and then I would cross out what I couldn't keep, put in what I wanted, find ways to summarize it. And then after that, I drafted it on no, not a laptop, on my phone, and then I just kept it. And then I drafted it in my notes, and then I sent it to people, and I was like, what do you think of this? I am very fortunate. I have a friend who does editing like professionally.
Oh yeah.
She's that person who reads material and is like, take this out, put this here. So she read over it and she helped me with that.
Okay. So what would you, if you were meeting a new creator or someone who's like grown their following and they're ready to go into the next stage, how would you articulate the importance of having a media kit and reaching out?
I think that there's no other way to put it really, like because you just that's like as simply as I can put it, because the truth is there's only so much you can do by yourself. And for me, I remember sitting with this wonderful lady and she said to me, you get to a place where people need to start paying for your knowledge, because you take your time, your effort, your everything to gain that knowledge. And as much as it might sound like, oh my gosh, you're just being stingy, you can't always give everything out for free. People will happily pay for the next celebrity's makeup brand or perfume line or whatever, but you also need to get to a point where you put yourself at that level and you exert that level of importance on your time, your resources, your knowledge, your everything. Because if you treat yourself as if you're not of value, people will take you that way. So if you are, it doesn't matter how many followers you have or what you're doing. There's people with 500 followers and less, actually, that are doing great brand collaborations. It's not necessarily about the followers, it's about what you're doing with it, because that's why it's called a micro influencer social media kit. So if you really want to get to a place where you are not only creating content, but getting paid to create content one, and you're no longer having to pay for things, like very humble, very, very humble brag. There's certain things that I just get. I don't have to pay for them. And you know, we need to get to that point in life, because you can't struggle forever, my friends. I'm sorry. You can't. So you need to get to a place where you need to understand that even your skills, you need to receive free things as well for you to achieve those things. It's fine. Don't think that you're being weird or mean or selfish or stingy. It's okay. It's okay. It's really fine. Stop. Don't remove it from your mind. It's fine. So I think that is really, really important, because it shows how serious you're taking yourself. If you go to someone and say, hey, I'm an Insta influencer and I have some thoughts, and I was just wondering if you want to work together, they'll just look at you and be like, oh, I also do. But if you, being a content creator can be a proper job if you treat it like a proper job. Everything that you treat with the necessary importance can be whatever you want it to be. So if you begin to treat yourself with the level of respect that you feel you deserve, you don't have to demand it from people. And this thing of the brands will find me is a lie. It's a lie. Because I'm not the first person to do food in our country, let alone in the world. There are so many people who do food. There are so many people who bake, so many people who do so many things. So it can happen. I'm not, God is there. It can happen. They can find you and be like, oh my gosh, wow, look at her. But don't be the person who waits. You would much rather put yourself out there as soon as possible, because that's actually how you're going to get more recognized. When you see like people, especially celebrities, who use brands, don't think that they found that person. No, they went into the DMs for a couple of months. They stayed there, and then eventually they came up to the surface and wonderful things happened. So, you know, don't live in a weird shell where you think, I'm too talented to do it. No, let's all be humble. Let's understand that these things take work and they take time. And there's nothing wrong with it taking time. There's nothing wrong with a couple rejections, because they will come and they'll be harsh. As if they even respond. Sometimes they don't at all. And put yourself out there as much as possible. I wouldn't advise necessarily posting your social media kit, because we live in a world where you know how many times that has happened to me?
Really? They
Not even like with the social media kit, with my products. I'm not just a African, and I'm just like, no
way.
No, there was a time somebody pretended to be me. I felt very important and offended at the same time. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's okay.
So you need to be careful. Social media is tricky. You need to put yourself out there without putting any of yourself out there. You need to be, because people will destroy you with what you put out there. So if you, I don't know if you're understanding.
I get
It's
you.
the type of thing where you need to be really, really careful. Like, for me, I can't be mean to customers online or ever. My customers don't have bad experiences with me.
Yeah.
Because one day when I have made it, here will come Clara, and it'll be an issue. And I would have gone from being this great success to being Tammy, who is so mean. And you can't have that. You can't also be the person who puts their business out there, because you don't know who wants good things for you and who doesn't. So you need to put yourself out in a really careful way, where people still are getting to know you, but they're not like inside your life. They don't know what it looks like when you brush your teeth in the morning, because why?
Yeah.
Why?
I hear you. I'm trying to do this more often. I did this previously. Is I will ask a question that is, most of the questions are obviously because I'm interested, and also because I feel like my audience would benefit. But then this question, which are the types of questions that are my own struggles, that I want your opinion on, because I feel like you're the most qualified currently in this room to answer this question. How do you deal with the growing. Obviously, I've started the podcast. Yeah, there was a nice spike of growth. People sharing, enjoying. Yeah, right. And then there was a decline. And now, not now, yes, 2 days ago, I enjoyed a nice little existential crisis. I questioned my whole existence and what I'm doing, and am I a fraud, and all those nice things. So how do you, because you came from 300 to, 8K, how did you kind of navigate the growth and the slowness and the trusting of the process and all of that?
So I think that with me, I do a lot of things. I'm a person who I believe in myself more often than not. But then in those moments where I don't really, I pray a lot. And I know praying isn't for everybody, and that's okay. But I personally pray a lot because I totally believe that if anyone can fix my problems, it's God. And if at that time I still don't feel wonderful, I have a journal. I have multiple journals. And I write down my goals. I write down what I want to do. And I love my old journals because I always look back and I'm like, oh, look at you, you've done something. And for the moments that I feel like, oh my gosh, am I even really doing anything? Those are the things that help me a lot because sometimes you're focusing on how it feels like you've hit a dead end and you forget how far you've actually come. Because to even be in a position where you're questioning yourself, it means that you're doing something right. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like if I'm cooking, right? I've already done the recipe. I've mixed everything up. The things I already put in the oil, and I'm like, did I do this right? That means that you've already done something for you to get to a point where you're like, so that means that somewhere something went really, really right for you to even be questioning what's wrong. And in those moments, the best thing that you can do for yourself really is to fake it until you make it. You feel bad to yourself, you feel good. Seriously, it's the best because negativity is just like a really bad roommate, always making noise, being in your space, eating your snacks. Like it's one of those things that just nags at your brain. And if you don't, it's not always going to be 100% that you're always like, oh my gosh, I'm a boss. But if you need to have the ability to be like, you know what? I must be doing something right. And you can't control my thoughts. You can't control my feelings because couldn't defeat Baba. I must have done something right. So I'm not gonna question this. And if it turns out bad, it's okay. It's okay. Because things aren't always going to work out. I've done videos sometimes where I thought, oh my gosh, this is so wonderful. And I expect really great things and it doesn't do well. And I think that the best thing that I do for myself is appreciate myself. I think my video is great. It must really be great because I am my worst critic. If other people don't think so, that's okay. It's not always about other people. Yeah. And as you grow, do you pray? I'm not here to talk about prayer.
Yeah, I do.
If you pray, the best thing that you can do for yourself as you grow, and I believe that you will, is just ask God to keep your heart humble. Because growth is a big deal. It looks so small when little things happen, but it's a really, really big deal. And I know that a lot of people say, yeah, God, keep me humble. But it's a big deal because very soon you can begin to forget how long it took you to get to that point. And the moment you forget what your struggle was like, you will never appreciate other people. You don't. It's not even just about yourself at that point. Because I believe we do the things that we do to help others. If you get to a point where you can no longer appreciate the difficulty that you had to experience, then you will not be able to appreciate other people because you won't be able to look at their circumstances and see beauty in it. So there's that. And then the other thing is just really celebrate yourself. You get 2 views, be happy. Be very happy. Even if you get 1, just celebrate life, because I think it was an audio on Instagram where they were like, you know what? It always looks like a little bit, but for me, I'm just like, imagine if these were orders. 30 doesn't really look like a big number until you're thinking, imagine if 30 people in your bedroom just looking at you like, speak what you got to say. So appreciate small things.
Yeah.
Like for me, I rejoice and celebrate. When I say I rejoice and celebrate, I don't mean small. I mean I get cake over views. I'm just there blowing candles, celebrating life, happy. Because yeah, it's important. You're making strides, you're making progress. Even your failures, celebrate them. Because they make really great stories. I mean, look at me telling you about how I scammed out of spoons.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
I don't know if that helps. I hope it does.
It does. It does. You know, it is the humbling is a thing, because when you start doing good, it's so easy to get ahead of yourself. I was getting a bit too big for my boots, you know. Maybe it was a lesson. Like, hey, I know you're doing good. Relax a little bit. Stay in your lane. You're better off having that pure heart, because it is a thing for other people, right? Like, of course, it's I treat it like my baby, but it's a baby for other people. I want other people to benefit. So remaining humble and not getting a big head about it, I think is perfect advice. And looking back, celebrating, I've heard that sound as well. For some reason it left my mind for the next couple of days. So thank you for that reminder, because you get eight views or eight whatevers, and it looks like a little, but if, like you said, if these guys, eight people have come knocking on my door saying, hey, Wellington, talk to me, it's so I think keeping that in mind is going to be it's a big changer. And praying is big as well. I pray for this podcast, and hopefully, bruh, this is my baby. Because one thing that I haven't done very well is starting a project, seeing it through, finishing it. So this is the one that I want to be the one that I finish. If I don't finish anything, let it be this one that I finish for once. So yeah,
I think that I used to be that way. And I found that it's not necessarily a good thing, but it also gives you something to do later on. And with what I do, I've actually found that half of the projects that I want to do end up tying into what I'm currently doing. So it's not too much of a fuss for me. When you really find something that you like, it creates other opportunities for you, and it doesn't feel hectic at all. Like, I don't know if I said this, but the thing that used to bother me, and it's not even like hate or bashing on anybody, and I'll say to people, when people ask me, what do you do? I giggle. But when I do food. And I go, you're a caterer. And I'm like, no. I say bake cakes. And it used to bother me so much, because like, is that all we're doing? And there's nothing wrong with doing that, especially if you do it well. Nothing wrong at all. But there is so much more to it. And that's my thing, is that people need to understand that there's so much more. And we need to create those opportunities. I think besides you and my brother, I don't know any more podcasters from Malawi. And it's a big deal, because it's not, I know female podcasters, they're really, really great. But then even in doing this, it's one of those things that's so rare, it can create more opportunities for you in the future. And it'll start out nice and cute, like a little bundle, like oh my gosh, like those little hatchlings in Angry Birds, and they're so cute because they can't fly. Yeah, it'll start out like that. And then eventually it's gonna grow, and one thing will lead to another. If God wants and he's allowing, and you have decided that you're willing to stick with it, you will find that this might actually be the main thing that you do. And I was watching Kevin Hart. This man inspired me so much. Because Kevin Hart does comedy, But from comedy, he has his own production company. He has his own radio station. He has his own fitness line. He's doing so much with that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at him when he's starting, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was saying he only started making money in 2014. This is after him being a comedian for such a long time.
Crazy.
You've seen the movie The Wedding Ringer?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He didn't make money from that movie. He only started making money after that. And from there, it created more opportunities from him. It looks like, oh, I'm just a comedian. But from that comedy situation, it created so many more opportunities. So, yeah, the one thing always looks like one thing until it starts laying eggs. You realize, oh, shoot, it's not one thing.
No, thank you. It means a lot, it means a lot coming from you, coming from someone who's, running the game in the food industry. Yeah, it means a lot. So I'll keep that in mind. I'll be open to, because I am open to opportunities. Whatever hatchlings come, I'll pick them up. I'll bring them. They'll be part of the roost. I hope my terminologies are right there. Yeah, 100%. What about you? Is there anything you struggle with?
Me, yes, there is. I'm really, really harsh on myself.
Yeah.
It's really bad. Like, not even in a cute way. Like, I work so no, like in a really bad way where I struggle to rest because I feel like I'm being lazy. And resting is really, really important. So there's that. And sometimes, believe it or not, I don't always feel confident. So what happens is, if I'm not feeling confident and I make something and I'm not happy with how it turned out and I'm being really, really harsh on myself, I'm going to spend the next 3 to 4 days not sleeping until I perfect it. And then because I'm not sleeping, I end up in this weird cycle of like being ill, not sleeping, wanting to perfect something, and being stressed. So there's that. I struggle sometimes. Sometimes I compare myself a lot. Like, I'll look at something and it's not necessarily bad on the other person that I'm comparing myself to's end, but it's more like self-criticism of, why aren't you there? Why aren't you doing the things that you know you can do? But in that, I also need to be understanding of the fact that you take steps, and that's okay. It's okay to take literally one step at a time. Sometimes it's okay to take a really, really big leap and stop.
Yeah.
Especially if that leap works out. Sometimes it's okay to take a single step, take a break, take another single step, maybe take 3, then stop. So, yeah, it's those two. And like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot.
Yeah, but like off the top,
it's those two. I think that over time, I've been really fortunate to be surrounded by people who just affirm good things to me. And that's really important as well.
Yeah.
There's no use in having people around you who are always going to be mean and continuously be mean. So even in the times when like I'm really, really down on myself, there's always like 3 or 4 people to just be like, oh, mommy, you're wonderful. And I was like, okay, I guess so.
Yeah. I want to challenge you.
Okay.
So you not feeling confident, something goes awry in that situation, what do you think would be the hardest thing for you to do? Right? Like you're saying you're inclined to go and start messing about in the kitchen and redeeming yourself. But what would be the hardest thing for you to do if you redeeming yourself is off the table?
Okay, so first it would be very hard for me to not cry.
Yeah.
I literally stay in the kitchen sometimes. I sit down and I cry. So there's that. And then I think, okay, it's gonna sound really silly, but tidying up and being able to still be positive about it, that would be a little bit of a struggle. Because I once had a fully baked cake, like beautifully stacked, decorated. It crumbled like before my very eyes. I'm looking at it, admiring it, like, wow, her. were. And it just, I actually have pictures of it. It
of the
like
crumbling
it crumbled.
plate.
Not in like a, no, in a way that I couldn't. And this is me having to do deliveries, mawa.
Damn.
And this is like at 9 p.m. My guests are Zima. I'm chilling my cake in the fridge, and this is what it does. And I remember sitting there, and I remember I got on the phone, I called the bear, and I was like, I have failed at life. I was like, I failed. And you know what? I show him the pictures, he starts laughing. I'm in tears.
Yeah.
Because in that moment, literally in that moment, I couldn't even start again. I'm falling apart. This man is laughing at me. My brother is already texting me like, and I'm like, y'all are not taking my crisis seriously. I'm like in tears. And the process of being okay after that took me a while. It took me like a whole other day to be like, you know what, it's okay. It took me so much time because I really did feel like I had to then text my customers and be like, hi guys. And they were like 6 and be like, guys, this is Tega. And that for me was the worst part because I love having good business experiences.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to feel like, oh my gosh, damn. So for me, that really crushed me. If it had just been for home, I would have been like, whatever. But it's the fact that there were other people, their time, their money, their resources being invested, and this happened, and I felt so. That's actually why I really felt like I failed because I couldn't deliver what I said I was going to deliver when I said I was going to deliver it.
Yeah.
But they were really understanding, and it was a lesson for me as well to be like, things literally fall apart, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You really need to stop doing this to yourself. And then I ate the cake with my brother.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. No, I get you. Yeah, letting people down is hard, especially if you pride on, because there are people who like don't care. There are people who don't care. But if you pride yourself on having your customers, your audience, your people happy, then not being able to do that is kind of tough to swallow. Yeah. I feel you. And then the next day, it was supposed to come out the next day, and then not. Oh, yeah. Because I know if it had crumbled and everything was fine, you would have grinded it out. You would have said, okay, it's fine.
Yeah,
I'm throwing it away. There's no time. I have to. And then you start doing it. But yeah.
I didn't get so.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you push through. I can imagine. I can genuinely imagine.
I was so sad.
Understandable.
Yeah, but I guess it just goes to show that sometimes you can do everything right and sometimes things just don't work out still.
Honestly, you can do all the steps you want, but sometimes things are unpredictable, and this part of, sadly, it's one of those parts of life that I think, especially in I want to say our line of work, especially in the creative line of work, because you are, there's a bit of you, there's a personal touch that you're putting in, and it's easy to put. So yeah, when your heart is kind of on the line and things go sideways, you can feel like everything is just like the cake, everything's crumbling. I hope that's not too soon. Oh, okay, cool. You're fine. All right.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
If I hadn't delivered it, then it would be like a sore subject, but it's okay. I remember my brother's best friend, Yami's mom, was like, she was telling one of my friends, Maggie, she was like, when Tammi cooks, you can taste the love. I was so happy because for me, my food is me. Like I don't want to say you're eating me, but
yeah, that's okay.
That's me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I am there. So I don't think it's very difficult for me sometimes to separate myself from what I actually do because I feel like I literally exert all my love into it. And for me to be like, oh, it's just food, it's a crime. I am the food.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Adds up. No, I mean, you're a nice person. You're a very kind, loving person.
Thank
So I
you.
think it would be very difficult for you to separate the things that you put out there. So
Yeah.
the blessing and a curse, I guess.
More of
Yeah.
a blessing.
Yeah. Oh,
Most
yeah,
times.
definitely. Most times, definitely a blessing because it shows the effort that you put in. It shows. I think, and that's something that
Mm.
people need to take into account. I know there's people who have, let's say, they have brands, they have products, they have things that they do, and maybe they don't put in as much as they should, right? They do the bare
Mm-hmm.
minimum, and a lot of the time, I think that's also an issue here in Malawi. I say here as if I'm at home, but but yeah, there's a balance, I think, between doing too much and putting too much and getting too attached and not putting enough. And I think there's far more people on this side of the spectrum of the not putting enough
Yeah.
side. Yeah.
I think it's because like people just do things because other people are doing it and it looks nice. No, like like even for me, like when people hear what I do, they're like, oh my gosh, I need to do that, and I'm like, okay. And it's not like I'm being mean,
Yeah.
but like there are people who like genuinely approach me and be like, hey, I want to work on this. Can you help me with this? And I'm like, super easy, like, okay, fine. You need to be very decisive if you're gonna be like a business owner, an entrepreneur, or anything like that. Like, just because somebody else makes cookies, you can't also make cookies. Just because other people are farming chili, it doesn't mean that you should also automatically farm chili. Because I always say the initial investment is invisible. Like, people don't know how much money you have to save, the effort, the knowledge, the everything that you have to put into the initial investment.
Because I feel it's so different for people who like they don't know the work that was put in beforehand, but because it's not just you're just making food, you're also you're a photographer. So it is the lighting, the setup, the food. Because like food, genuinely, I don't think people actually know how much Photoshop and touch up and all of this stuff puts it like
It
KFC.
takes so
KFC
much
is a perfect
time.
example. What you see there and what comes here are two different things, but that was taken in the studio.
Yeah.
They sprayed it with all of this stuff. They put in work. Someone got paid big
Like,
bag for
even
that.
when I see people who like they take food, like pictures of food like this, I'm like, what are you doing? Don't do that.
Give me
You're
that.
hurting the food.
Move. Let me show you how
I
it's
guess
done.
I don't really get offended, but I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can imagine. As a photographer, you go and see people take terrible selfies. I don't come. Please, let me show you. Let me show you.
But I guess it's okay at the same time because not everyone will be able to do the things that you do, and I can do the things that everybody else does. So
yeah, I think that is the balance that you are in the position where you have that craft in your belt. You know how to do the things, and then there are people who are maybe they're starting out and they have no clue. They don't know how to take pictures. They don't have a phone.
yeah.
That's lighting is icing, and it's not working. So sadly, people are still gonna do it. They're gonna.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Even me, oh my gosh, my pictures used to be bad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not even cute bad. Like, they used to be yellow, orange, gold. Like, I don't know what it was about,
Yes,
but they had like this weird hue. I don't even like it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to look at them and be like, art.
Oh yeah. I see. I hear you. Yeah. I looking at other people's stuff. Sometimes you're like, I know you're proud of this. I know you're proud for. I know you're proud of this. Let me just leave it there, and let me not say too much more. But I can tell that you're proud of this, and that's a thing. Yeah, but eventually, I think it's one of those things where, as you stick through it, you start to realize, okay, there's a problem here. You start looking at other people, and you're like, okay, something, my stuff and their stuff look a bit different. How do I get there? And I think it's fine. I guess if you're dabbling, you can have stuff just be the way it is, but as you progress, improvement is necessary. It's a must.
It is. It really is.
I don't know if I have any. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, actually. So like now
Oh,
that you're doing this whole
oh
thing in
no.
life,
Oh no.
how's it going? Like where
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I want to understand your thought process. Like you sat down, you were like,
Mm-hmm.
mm,
Oh, that
yeah,
is a good
I'm
question.
ready.
You win. You win. Okay. I always wanted to there's always been a want to do stuff, to make a thing, to perform, to be in front of people, to talk. It's always been there since childhood.
Oh my gosh. Do you remember that time when you were at Must and you were rapping an Eminem thing?
Yo, you remember way too much. All right, you remember way, way, way too much. All right, you need to calm down with the memory thing. Okay, you need to keep it at bay. Um,
No.
I've performed at Mast. I performed at KA. I did Mr. KA. I directed a play. We were, first place was stolen from us, in my opinion. At South End, this is back in high school. Every time there was assembly, I was there. End of year situations, I'm running it. I'm emceeing. I'm organizing the people. I'm always in front of the thing. So I think it just makes sense that I want to do some kind of performing thing. I came to school and realized after some years that I'm not doing what I actually want to do. And it was this, I was mad at everyone. I was mad at myself. I was mad at the world for letting me do this. I was mad at them. Um, but all of this brewed and culminated into me thinking, there are people who are in my exact position at high school. You're about to leave. You have to make a choice about what direction you go in. And the thing that you want, you know, you can't tell these people that raised you because they're going to think you're crazy. And you can't tell your friends because they want to be they want to be accountants and lawyers and normal things, and you want to make food. So you gotta decide, what do you do? And I think for me, someone telling me, dog, you can do this. This is how you can do it. This is how you can go about it. It doesn't matter what people think because things are different. The world is larger than you think, and you're not just going to be one thing for the rest of your life. You can change, you can evolve, but there's more out there. So yeah, that's kind of where this thing was born. It said, I'm going to make a thing. I'm going to be the one that I needed when I was there. And I also have a lot of people around me that are also going through the same thing in real time. Now, I discovered, my eyes have been open. I've seen the truth now, and I can't shut up. I can't sit and watch you throw your life away. My girlfriend, I will tell, there will be a day when I tell this story properly, but she went down, we agreed that she was going to do the thing she wanted to do. Huh? Next thing I hear, she's going to College of Medicine. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was so vexed. Purely, I felt betrayed. I felt angry, and I felt sad because it's like, don't do what I did. Don't fall for this trap. You are supposed to be better than me. Don't let this happen to you. Eventually, of course, she changed with a bit of my own prodding, and now she's so happy. She's so happy. And Theo, I don't know if you know, he's doing film. I talk about him all the time. I will praise him for the end of that. He's doing film. He told them they wanted him to do law. He said, no, I want to do act. And he told me this before all of these things had been solidified. He told me, I want to act and I want to be an actor. I said, yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know how that's going to go for you, dog. But I love that you know what you want to do. I said, this is not my story. I'll leave it alone. I left it. I come back. I hear, yeah. So I applied. I'm, what? You know, and he's doing the things. So it made me very happy. So I want to continue doing that for other people, building a kind of guidebook and a recipe, a playbook for them to go out and do the things that they love. Yeah.
Okay. So now with your newfound knowledge and empowerment, woo, do you think that the people, I know that you initially spoke about how everybody wants to like live a quote unquote normal life.
Yeah.
Do you think that the people that you have in your life now spur you on in the things that you want to do? Do you think that they add value to the thing that you're doing now? Or are they more safety prone?
There's a mix. There's a mix. I'm drawn to, I think I'm drawn to weirdos. Weirdos are the only ones in my real inner circle. So obviously my brother, he's duh. My girlfriend, she's out there. She disappointed her parents and left medicine to go do the things that she wanted to do. My friend Michael, I think you know Michael Chikawunda, he also has dreams of being an artist as well. So I keep in my circle a good amount of weirdos, disappointments. What else are they? Creatives and all of that stuff. And there are people who are, I guess, doing normal things but still practice the things that they love, and which is fine. Like you don't have to be a dancer necessarily, but I think you need to incorporate the thing that you love in your life rather than ignoring it, because I think it brings joy and excitement. And sometimes life is hard. Life is hard, and you need to do the thing that energizes you to kind of bring that mood up. So yeah, I think the people in my circle help, because a beautiful thing is that I also have my exact target audience are some of my friends, the people who are not doing the things. Oh yeah. I keep them close, study them so that I can give them what they need. Yeah.
So like now that you're doing this and everything is beautiful and it's sunshine and the leprechauns are playing around the rainbow, do you see yourself doing this like long term? Or I mean, of course you see yourself, I believe you see yourself doing it long term. Where do you see yourself going with it?
That is a good question. I'm discovering this as I go, but I think there's two aspects of it. For this show, I do want it to go long term. I don't expect to be able to do it forever, because there's only so much you can say. But I do expect to go as long as I can with new stuff, and impact people as many ways as I can. Maybe build off to maybe write a book. I'm not a writer. That's the thing. I love to conceptualize, but sitting down to write is a difficult thing. But I might do that. I might write something. I might make some kind of course, something that I can say, here's the thing, here's the result that you're gonna get. Do this thing and you're done. You're good. To actually make the thing happen concrete, because sometimes people just consume, but they need like a proper curriculum of sorts. So that is a hope in the future, for me to make a product that'll get someone from A to B in a concise way. After this podcast, I do want to get more into podcasting and into creating content. That is the ultimate goal. So this, in a way, is also a portfolio. I want to do this. I have some people that have approached me for help making podcasts. So I'm going to help there, probably voluntarily, maybe paid, I don't know. But I hope to keep building so that I can now start approaching. There is a specific brand that I want to approach, and I have an idea for a podcast, for a show that I want to give to them. It is an experiment. It is slightly risky, but I think it's the type of risk that Malawi needs. So after that, it just becomes a thing of, hey, I'm just making things. That is the ultimate goal for me. And this happened. I talked to Vanessa, the interview that just got out. She said, I want to make what I want to make. I want to create what I want to create. That is the manifesto. That is, at the end of the day, I want to make what I want to make and be in a position where monetarily I'm secure enough to just do the things that I love. So becoming a content creator, building that up into a studio of sorts where we can do podcasts, we can do video, we can do whatever it is, and people can come and make that happen. And hopefully, am I revealing my hand too early? I don't care. I can take this out if I don't want it to go out. But I want to help people do that financially. So if this studio becomes a thing and it grows and it becomes a thing, I want to be able to like maybe give people scholarships to go study in the UK, to do drama, to do art, to do whatever, under the condition, of course, that they have to come here and work for a bit to kind of build the creator economy more. It's not just a thing of telling people, oh yeah, you can go. Like I want to say, hey, I know you're underprivileged. Maybe you don't have money, but I know you're creative. I've seen you carving things. I've seen you painting. I've seen you do all this stuff. You need the exposure. You need the training. You need the help. You need the facilities. Come here. Let me do that for you. Go there, come back. And then we just keep doing that. And my hope. That's our episode, folks. Sadly, yeah, it happened again. This happens. This tends to happen. We were cut short. I hate it. But hopefully you got a lot of value out of this episode, and you learned to approach things with confidence as an entrepreneur, not to be intimidated by big numbers and subscriber or follower counts. You learned the importance of learning the business side of things, even if you're a good practitioner of whatever craft it is, be it art or, chefery. Is that what it is? Chefery, cooking, pastry, anometry, and those things, because that can cost you a lot, not just, just mental health, but also money. And a lot of the other insights that were shared in this episode. If you want to catch Tammi, okay, her links are in the description, obviously, but she has a lot of interesting stuff coming out. She's just started doing mixology, which is super cool. She's doing amazing things. She's changing the game and braving this world as a young entrepreneur in the creative space, and we love it. So if you like that, please consider liking and leaving a review or a comment. Just say, hey man, I did it. All right, it was long, it was 2 hours, and I did it and I enjoyed it. Also show Tammi some love, because she deserves a lot of love, because she's been an amazing guest, and has helped at least me in inspiring me to even start this show. She was one of the big inspirations for all of this. So you have to send her love personally for me. If you aren't gonna send anyone love this time, please do it for me. Okay? That is the end of the episode. If you want to watch more, somewhere here, maybe there are other interviews, my previous interviews, that I think you might be interested in. It's categorized in most interesting for you, probably. Yeah. See ya.